phone call. Let me go to Josh in Oklahoma. Hello, Josh. You're on the Glenn Beck program.
Hey, Glenn. This is Josh. Hey, I just want to say I'm not voting this year. You know, I just came back from my third tour in Afghanistan. I remember my first tour, I watched him get inaugurated, and it was a sad day for me. And after spending 3 years overseas, I come home and I see this. I hope he wins. I really do, because America is in denial, and I think that's what's going to take. I know we're at a low spot now, but we're going to have to hit rock bottom before we actually stand up.
Well, you know what, Josh, you're the dumbest person I've ever heard. You are, and I thank you for your service, but that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. If you think that we survive 4 years of Barack Obama, you know, you don't take a country and collapse it. Read history, man. Read what happened to the Soviet Union. That's what happens when a country collapses economically. It goes into the hands of robbers, thieves, murderers, thugs. We become Mexico. We don't get this utopia. Read Ronald Reagan. If you say you're conservative, read Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan said, "No time in human history has any group of people ever tasted freedom, lost it, and tasted it again." That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I'm sorry you feel that way, but that's the way I feel. I feel everybody's in denial, and they're not going to wake up until...
No, they're not. So you're going to sell out all of the millions of Americans like you, like me, that are not in denial, and you're going to try to do some grand experiment and just let it collapse?
Oh, it's not a grand experiment. I mean, voting's a fraud anyways. There's so much fraud in voting these days that it's not even worth it.
Thank you, Josh, for your call. Don't listen to him. Please don't listen to him. Please don't listen to him.
Well, if we listen to him, we lose our country. I mean, it's just that simple.
We lose our country.
That's what he was advocating.
Yeah.
He was advocating a complete collapse.
Here's a guy who did great things and went and fought war on our behalf, in our name, and I appreciate it. I don't know what we're still doing over there, but you don't lose the country. If you stay home, if you're convinced that it's all the same, and somehow or another it's going to magically reconstitute itself, you don't know history.
How do you fight for the country's freedom on the battlefield in Afghanistan and then come home and say, I'm going to let it go to hell?
You know why?
How do you do that?
Because you don't know what you were fighting for in Afghanistan anymore. You come home and you say, what the hell was I doing over there? Because I can't explain it to you. I don't know what we're doing over there anymore. I don't know what we're doing anywhere anymore. I don't know what we're doing, supporting the Libyan revolution, to support the Egyptian revolution. I don't know what we're doing. What are we doing? What are we going to do in Syria, and why? What is our agenda over there? I can understand somebody coming home at this point, but I have to tell you, you're so wildly misguided if you think that freedom is cheap. If you think that freedom is just something that you pull off the shelf after we teach the American people a lesson to wake up. You don't teach the American people a lesson. You will teach a lesson for multiple generations, and we may never ever recover from it.
You must be pretty confident too. I mean, what you're doing is you're betting the entire country and world freedom on the idea that you know how everything's going to turn out. Well, maybe
it's exactly
that's really not a fair bet.
It's actually it's everything that the Egyptians did. All the Egyptians, they bet that it was all going to work out great. The media all bet out that it's going to be great. It's going to be fine. Not a problem. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Who wins? The best organized. So, Mr. Caller, you tell me. Who's better organized, you and your little band of patriots, or the Obama administration, George Soros, and all those around the world that are in league with some of the most powerful people in the world? Do you think that they're a little more organized and ready for this, or you? Don't be a fool. Don't be a fool. I said earlier today a prediction. Barack Obama loses because people are awake. They are awakening. And the Great Awakening, the third Great Awakening, is happening. Now, if you want to punish everybody who is waking up, great. But our founders would not have punished the American people. Let them have their medicine. No, they weren't fools. I said earlier, Barack Obama loses. However, he only loses if we get on the field and finish the game. Now, will the game be finished? Yes. The Barack Obama game will be finished. But if you remember right, we were playing this game under George W. Bush. People started to wake up under George W. Bush. More have awakened under Barack Obama. And you know what? If Mitt Romney thinks he's going to have a cakewalk, which I don't believe he thinks for a second, he's a fool. But he doesn't believe that. He's not going to have a cakewalk. And you know what? He's not the perfect candidate. We have to remain vigilant and awake under him, too. It's taken 100 years to get this far. And you know why the progressives did it this way? Because they didn't want a revolution. Why? Because you cannot predict revolutions. When things go into chaos, you cannot predict the outcome. I'm so torn because this man has served his country, but you are doing your country such a disservice. May God forget that you called yourself one of my countrymen.